All right, everybody. Happy Monday afternoon. Meteorologist Jack Gerfen here. We've also got meteorologist Jacob Dickey here as well. We're both going to be kind of tag teaming the updates here for our severe weather. Just wanted to first off let you know about what you can expect here in terms of what we have right now. So this is our storm tracker Doppler. This is the current view. It's looping here for the past few hours. And you can see that we do have the one warning just off to the west of the Illinois River with this warning here until, I'll let that pop up, and there we go, until 4:15 was what I was waiting for. For Adams and Brown County, this is outside of our viewing area for 60-mile-per-hour winds as well as 1-inch in diameter hail size. As of right now, this is the only warning in our state right now. Zooming out, you've got a line of showers and storms that are going off to the north all the way to the Wisconsin line. We've got some showers and storms there, but it's basically that southern storm with this warning on it that is just kind of moving out of the Quincy area. That's something we're kind of watching right now to provide us with the most activity currently. We have our severe thunderstorm watch, and this watch does go until 9 o'clock this evening for a majority of our viewing area. Right now, Livingston, Ford, as well as McLean counties, or Iroquois counties, are out of it, as well as Effingham, Jasper, Cumberland, Clark, and Crawford counties. Those are out of it too currently. We'll wait and see how things develop if more counties are added in, but as of right now, this is what we have. It goes until 9 o'clock, and we do expect there to be not only a chance for some heavy rain with these, but also some of the severe impacts as well in terms of strong winds, damaging hail, and the possibility of even some tornadoes as well. So we're going to go over to meteorologist Jacob Dickey, and he is over there right now. Jacob, what are you looking at currently?
Yeah, we're kind of talking about the SPC outlook and what we expect through the day today. Of course, that severe thunderstorm watch does go till 9. The severe threat may be a little longer than that, but not by much. It does not look like it's going to be a nighttime event for us here. We're in that window now. We've got a level 2 slight risk across much of central Illinois here. The area is in yellow. That's all of us. If you watch us on TV, you turn on the channel 3, and on your cable, satellite over the antenna, you're in the same risk here. So the risk is the same area-wide as far as the threat for severe weather. Let's take a look a little more on what that means for us. We talk about a slight risk of level 2. The intensity, isolated but intense. Usually they're more short-lived here. We get a storm that rolls on through maybe an hour or two, and then it can sometimes dissipate. But the coverage starts to get a little more scattered in nature here for the severe threat. So more areas do have a chance maybe to see it than a level 1 risk, a marginal risk that's out there. And we don't have an enhanced risk or a level 3 or up. We're only level 2 today. However, get down into some of the details here, we still think there is a chance for tornadoes, wind, and hail with all of these storms. The Storm Prediction Center did go with a severe thunderstorm watch as over a tornado watch. Doesn't really mean a whole lot here. A severe thunderstorm still is considered a severe thunderstorm if there's a tornado with it here. The threat, though, is still very conditional. So getting some sunshine in there, which we thought was one of those steps that was needed. So we'll watch that here. Of course, large hail and high winds would be the main threat, probably till about 11 o'clock tonight at the latest, maybe midnight. We may be done by the 10 o'clock news, though. We'll continue to watch, and especially that tornado threat with these types of systems, they can be a little finicky, and the ceiling is a little higher, but we don't have to go all the way up the wall to meet that. We still, though, think that there's a chance we may have a couple of tornadoes somewhere in our broad risk here as we go into tonight. Let's talk more about the risk as far as it goes. This is first, we'll take a look at hail size. More than likely, $quarter to $half sized hail. And that storm that's over in Adams and Brown County is warned for quarter hail. If there is some hail that's up to golf ball size, it doesn't mean the hail will be. But that's probably the top of the game for us here as far as hail threat goes. There may be some here along and south of Interstate 72, especially as those storms can ramp up a little bit here in the next few hours until they get to about I-57. Not everyone sees hail. That's important to know here, but the chance is there. The tornado risk also is up to a 5 on our scale, and that's for pretty much everyone that watches here. Yeah, our West Indiana counties down to a 3. There's a little sliver of 3 here and there. Let's just use this broad brush, since it's pretty much everyone, to say we're all sitting at a 5 with some of these strong rotating storms that may come on in here. Isolated to scattered, but it only takes one storm going down your street for that to be a problem. And that's why we're at a 5 today. Given the setup that we had, yeah, it's a slight risk. Well, that usually doesn't bring tornadoes. Not necessarily the case with this one, because we're looking at a feature with a little uncertainty that's in place here. Again, there's that hail. Let's take a look at the wind real quick. The large hail risk, of course, not all that high, but it's there. The wind is what I also want to talk about here. The damaging wind risk area-wide, it pushes more to the east. Early on is the better chance to see some of those more isolated storms. We think the chances, though, they may become more linear as we move on through. And Jack's going to show us future track here in a second for that. We'll watch it as far as it goes, but all types of severe weather on the table. It's why we want you to be severe weather aware. Jack, you've been looking at future track and kind of watching things here. Why don't you talk us through a little more about the timing, what we're seeing now, and how things will play the rest of the night?
You got it. First off, though, I did want to take a little bit of a detour here because we have been kind of watching one thing there in terms of the sunshine. If you're able to see more sunshine, that would pose more of a severe threat for us, as there would be more in the way of a bit more heat as well as kind of energy to work with. Current conditions, this is what it looks like from Decatur. There still is a pretty decent cloud deck out there, but as you look at the loop there of our satellite, you're seeing more and more clearing occurring. So places off to our west and southwest are starting to see more in the way of clear skies. That would be enough for some of these storms to gain a bit more in the way of strength here. And so what I'm going to do now is show future track. So here we go with that. This is our future track. It's actually doing a very good job of picking out where the storms currently are. Again, basically from Quincy on north to the Wisconsin line, and that's pretty much where this is showing. So this is going to be probably a knockout model. This is our HRR model, the HRRR model. So as we go into the later portions of the afternoon and into the evening, we're going to be watching maybe a few more storms developing south of the one that we've got warned for currently into moving out of the Quincy area. So we might have to watch for a few more pop-ups here developing. But otherwise, most of these storms here that we have currently are going to keep on going to the east. So here is 6:30, give or take. At that point, we're getting awfully close to I-55, beginning to make its way potentially into our viewing area. And we've got more storms there by 7 o'clock. At this point now, we're between I-57 and I-55, we're thinking. Getting to around 8 o'clock at that point, might be crossing over I-57 in some locations. And it just keeps on marching forward. 9 o'clock, we're getting pretty close at that point now to the Indiana line. And even after that, a few lingering showers and storms into portions of the southeastern corner of our viewing area, Jasper, as well as Crawford counties down there. This should not be a super late night tonight, we're not thinking. There will be more showers and storms that will be going through southern Illinois for tomorrow morning, and some of those could, as you can see, bleed up into our area by tomorrow morning. But at that point, that's a new day now at this point. So again, backing up here, we've got the storms being picked up nicely on our model currently, and we've got them just marching eastward here. This is all thanks to what we call a MCV, a mesoscale convective vortex, right?
Yeah, and those are not fun to deal with.
Yeah, Jacob and I have been talking about how much of a difficult forecast this is with these storms. You know, if we're expecting them to pop up, we kind of have a better idea about things. But when you've got this basically a little spin in the atmosphere, as that works its way into more favorable, warmer conditions, then at that point, it's kind of like, does stuff pop up or does it not pop up? And that's kind of what we're looking at now. Right now, the storms have popped up, so we've got that under control. It's just going to be, do any more of them pop up and how far to the east they move? Do they move straight to the east? Do they move more to the southeast? There are still some unknowns with that. But again, our future track, we think it's got a pretty good job, pretty good handle on things here. Kind of getting to around I-55 by around 6 to 7 o'clock, somewhere in there. And it will likely be more of a kind of northern half of our viewing area. By the time we get more into the 8 to 9, 10 o'clock time frames there, as the whole, this might be more of a line of storms at this point, begins to push on more to the southeast. More spots in our southern viewing area counties might be able to pick up on some of that action. But as of right now, we're kind of looking at it to be trending a bit more to the north currently. We'll have to, again, wait and see how things play out. We'll obviously bring you those updates, but that's what we're shooting for as of right now. Jacob, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to take a little closer look at future track here. I saw a question pop up. Well, there's a slight risk, but we've got the tornado risk at a 5, and then we think there's some hail and wind here. Those MCVs can be really a nightmare to try and forecast here. They kind of generate their own wind shear, and they're a bit different than your traditional severe weather setups here. So things can get a little spicy before all is said and done. It doesn't mean it has to, but compared to a normal slight risk day, the ceiling with these MCV type of events is a little higher, and that's why if we can get that storm going, the storm mode, very important. Is it isolated? Is it more of a line? That's going to be important here. You kind of get the idea that here at 6:30, like Jack was mentioning, maybe we're seeing more of a line in some spots. But if we can get that little isolated cell, maybe on the south end of that, we call it a tail and Charlie, or we get some of these cells that pop up here and they're more isolated, that then means the tornado threat comes up a little bit. Also, the hail threat comes up a little bit. The linear mode, the tornado hail threat go down, but the wind threat comes up then. Straight line winds of 60 to 70 miles an hour would be possible. Scattered in nature. Not everyone's going to get a severe storm. We just have to watch this pretty closely here as it rolls on through. And again, by the time we get to 10, 11 o'clock, things are out of here. So I did want to mention that. Just a reminder of why we've got this maybe a little higher for a slight risk day. Again, on a day like today, the ceiling's a bit higher. Things can get out of hand in a little bit quicker pace than on a normal type of day. But there's still a little uncertainty. We really don't, in these type of events, don't get a true picture of what's going to happen until it happens. And that's one of the troubles that we have here, Jack.
Yeah, and that's been the problem, is just that we have to kind of wait for stuff to pop up until we can start to say what's going to happen. And
yeah, the observation data at this point is really critical for us. Normally, Jack, we have a cold front coming through. Yeah. We got a severe weather risk in May. We know, there'll be a line of storms, maybe an embedded supercell in there or whatnot. We can give more finite details. But on a day like today, there's a lot of unknowns until the last minute.
Yep.
So we've been a little more elevated with our awareness for this particular event because we want folks to be more aware and prepared ahead of time rather than caught off guard. We think it's better to be prepared than not prepared, and especially with these type of events. And knowing how May goes around here, May and June in particular, Jack, things can get a little bit more active as far as it goes. It hasn't been active this spring really at all, so this is kind of our first event too where we're getting things going and people start to think about, oh, what do I do when there's severe weather? So Jack, do you have anything else to say, or I can cover some severe weather tips?
I was going to say just one more thing. Let me flip you over to me here.
There you go.
I was going to say that we'll probably hear some rumbles of thunder at points later on in our forecast here, maybe on Sunday. That's actually going to be about it. Most of this week's actually kind of cloudy, rainy, below average. So really it's going to be, today's an active day, then it's going to be kind of rainy and cool here. Don't really have to worry about more in the way of storms because like what Jacob was saying, it's been actually a pretty quiet, severe weather season so far. And besides today, a lot of this week should be pretty quiet as well. But I just wanted to talk one point about the fact that once these showers and storms are done, we're not really talking about a very late night event with this. By about midnight or so, a lot of us should be pretty calm at this point. Likely cloudy, there might be still some light rain showers here and there, but in terms of this going super late into the night, that is not going to be the case with this one. Like I said, there could be some showers and storms for southern Illinois that does come up into our area by tomorrow morning, but that's going to be dependent on what the storms are doing down in places like Oklahoma. So that's going to be obviously a ways away, and there's a lot of variables that would prevent them from getting into our area. So we'll have to kind of just watch that. But again, we're just kind of watching the next few hours here, how those play out. Our satellite as well as our radar. We've got, again, the clearing that's been happening. And so we're going to be watching for that to be the case, to allow temperatures to get into the 70s like they are. But we still just have the one warning just outside of our viewing area on the other side of the Illinois River. So right now, just looking at that one storm, the potential there for a few more to develop to the south is there. They're trying as best they can. As we zoom in more, you've got just a few little cells that have popped up into portions of extreme eastern Missouri south of Quincy, but there's still not a whole lot of activity there. So we're still just kind of waiting and seeing what happens with those in terms of any more development. But as long as the storm that we have right now with the warning on it stays as the southernmost storm, that one will be the strongest one. Like Jacob said, we call those the tail and Charlie ones. Those are always the strongest ones because they're at the south. They're able to tap into all the moisture as well as the unused air, whereas to the north, where more storms are, the air is already getting churned up. So that's all I got right now.
All right, cool. Let's take some time and revisit some severe weather safety tips. Since I've been here, Jack, I came here and joined the team in November. I don't think we had one event, a very marginal event that brought one tornado warning.
Yep.
And we may not get tornado warnings today. We may just stay with severe thunderstorm warnings if we're more linear. Again, the storm mode, we just watch it evolve and really keep a close eye on it. But we're not thinking about severe weather. So let's think about it understand, hey, we're going to talk through if you're maybe unsure or whatnot. First off, here's some different ways. We call it reliable severe weather alerts. Obviously, if there's tornado warnings, we'll be on TV. We'll cover them for you. If there's any severe thunderstorm warnings that require that, we'll be on TV as well. More than likely, first here, we'll be on our live stream. You can go to our app on our phone, WCIA 3 Weather. Just search for that in your app store, or you can go to WCIA.com. We'll be live streaming there as well. Your mobile device also is a good way to get severe weather information. Wireless emergency alerts. We mentioned that during our severe weather special. It's that really loud, annoying alarm sound when you get 3 of them in a row, and it tells you there's something on.
It's a notification that definitely sounds different than any of your other notifications that you have on your phone.
Yes, and that's a great thing to have. Those come for tornado warnings. They come for flash flooding, significant flash flood warnings. We call those flash flood emergencies. And this summer, they'll start to come for certain severe thunderstorm warnings, but they won't for this time. But at least the tornado warnings, you'll get those if they're issued. Outdoor sirens, I did put it there. Maybe you're outside. It's meant to be heard outside, not inside. More on that in a second. And the NOAA weather radios as well, if you've got one. That's another way you can protect. We encourage you at least 2 ways. Here's a couple of those to have a way to get severe weather information. Maybe you're in a group text with family, or you text your friends. You're part of a network there. You can use that as well. Quick note. The NOAA weather radio in Champaign County, unfortunately, is down for this event. That's important here, and that means that you at home are going to be part of our warning process. If there's a warning issued in Champaign County, we want you to text your friends and families because that NOAA weather radio is down. A lot of folks rely on that, especially, I know my grandparents growing up had one. My parents have one now. But for Champaign County in particular, and even some of these surrounding areas, I know Gibson City doesn't get that, even down towards Tuscola, Monticello. This particular tower will be coming up soon, Jack.
Yes, it will be.
It will be, and that's really exciting. It's just not for this event yet. It's pretty much a day-to-day case here when they get it installed and get tested. They need some quiet weather. And
it should be this month. I mean, it should be by the end of May.
Yeah, by the end of this month, they expect it to have it online. I mean, it could be this week. It could be next week even. We just are waiting for the official. It's up and working as they do some testing and installation. So just a note about that. There are towers that surround it. Crescent City, parts of Ford and Northern Vermilion can get that. There's one down in Shelbyville. There's one in Bloomington. I think there's one in I believe it's Paris has one. You know if that sounds right? I don't have the map with me, but there are other towers. But the problem is Champaign County kind of sits in the dead zone between all those others. And so we know that county in particular is in the dark for NOAA weather radios. So again, reliable severe weather alerts. Obviously, we just talked about this. I did put an X over outdoor warning sirens. If you're inside, don't count on hearing them. If you got kids, you got a TV on, maybe you're in bed, you shouldn't use that as one of your priority ways to get severe weather alerts. Also, I've crossed off Facebook and Twitter. Right now, you're watching at our live stream on Facebook and Twitter, or you're watching us on the app. Facebook and Twitter are a bit of a problem because they can...
You're basically a slave to the algorithm.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't follow us very often and you don't like and comment on a lot of our posts, then you most likely won't see a lot of our warnings that we post on there. And so that's why you shouldn't only rely on Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, the refresh, you have to literally click and refresh Twitter constantly if that's what you're doing. I will say, though, you can go to our WCIA 3 News Facebook page. When you follow us, you can also, there's a setting that you can get notifications for all Facebook Live events. It's better. It's not 100% reliable like TV, app, NOAA radio, wireless emergency alerts, listening to the radio in your car even to get that information. Quick tornado safety tips. Again, I'm not saying this looks like a big-time tornado event necessarily, but someone could very well see a tornado in their neighborhood today. And if there is, we want everyone to be prepared for that, especially with the season coming in. And it's been a while since we thought of this here. The wrong place to be, in a car, a mobile home, or under a highway overpass. Those are very unsafe places to be. The further down the list we go, the better, but still a bad place to be. Large open rooms or manufactured houses. We'll say no cars, no mobile homes, no manufactured homes. At these large open rooms, think of big box stores. You go in a big box store, a high span ceiling, those are easy to be damaged and even collapse on people. Sometimes, and I've heard this before, I don't know why it's said, Certain stores will say go to the center of the building. That's the wrong place to go. You'd rather go to a bathroom in the back where there's more reinforcement. There's more walls there, not an open span that leaves you prone to the elements. Really, the ceiling above you is not much more than a layer of metal and some insulation in those big box stores. So where do you want to be? Well, a great place to be, interior room or a basement of a well-built building, a home, a business, a place like that. You go down as low as you can, most interior room away from windows, and a well-built building. Again, not a mobile home, not a manufactured home, but a well-built site structure. You got a foundation. If you have a basement too, that's great, but not everyone does. If you're in an apartment complex, go down from the floor, take some snacks to your neighbor downstairs, introduce yourselves, shelter down in the first floor there. That's important. And that well-built building, of course, if you're in a car driving, stop at the nearest restaurant, the nearest gas station. Walk-in coolers, bathrooms there are much better than being up here in a car. Best place to be, tornado shelter or safe room. Not everyone has those, but still a great place to be. Interior room or basement of a well-built building. An inside closet, inside hallway, or a interior bathroom even works as well. The bathroom has plumbing, which can help hold you down closer to the foundation as far as it goes. So that's just some tornado safety tips on where to go. You get pillows, blankets, a mattress, even a bicycle helmet. The number one cause of tornado deaths is head trauma. So protect your head. Grab a bike helmet for the kids, even one for yourself. As far as you can tell the kids you're going on a bike ride after everything's done. That makes it feel better as far as it goes. All right, quickly rolling on through the difference between a watch and a warning. We don't have a tornado watch out. We have a severe thunderstorm watch. A lot of the information kind of is the same here. Severe thunderstorms possible, including a tornado. Keep an eye on the sky. You'll be able to tell in the distance, especially some folks have kids with ball games tonight. You'll be able to see some storms coming, the sky getting darker, maybe even some lightning. So what do? Download our app. We already sent the notification for that. You probably got that if you have our app downloaded. And make plans if there is a warning issued. What are you going to do? Inside, if it's a severe thunderstorm warning, and then taking those extra steps for a tornado warning. Review that emergency plan, and then just check on your family and friends. Say, hey, there's a watch. We're all part of this process here as we go. Tornado warning, if we get a few, we'll be on TV right away. You'll want to proceed to your safe place. Either turn the volume up all the way on your TV or use our app to stream us from your safe place there. That way you can keep up with the information. Leave your mobile home immediately. Get to a safer location. Get out of your car. Stop at a safe place like we just talked about. I like to use the words in, down, up. Jack, I think you probably have a different set of words. In, inside, down, as low as possible, up, covering up. Stay until all clear. We'll give you that. And, of course, watch WCIA 3 coverage online or turn your TV up as far as it goes. So there we go, Jack. They did update that severe thunderstorm warning for parts of far northwestern Morgan and Cass counties there to extend it. I think it's just going to be for
4:45. Up until 4:45 is what it goes for. It's still the same warning criteria that it has currently. So it's still the 60-mile-per-hour winds as well as the half-dollar-sized hail. So it's just still almost baseline severe weather currently, so we're still watching that. It's
a lot of lightning in that storm.
There's a lot of lightning with it. There's also going to be some heavy rainfall amounts with it too. I'm not actually sure how fast it's moving.
Moving at 45 when I saw the earlier warning.
Okay. I'm going to pull it up here. Only east at 25 miles an hour. So it's a slow mover.
25 now, okay.
So it's a slow mover, and what that means is that we're going to be looking at also a lot of heavy rain with this one as well. So it is now technically into our viewing area. It's now very far away, the warnings are. And the actual cell itself is still just off to the east, or the west still, of the Illinois River. So the storm is not actually in the viewing area just yet, but the warnings are. And just to zoom out here and to give you an example about where we are, if you live in Danville, for example, this is pretty far away. It is pretty far away. So we've got a while until this happens here. Now, when these things are moving and they begin to form more of a line, they'll most likely speed up. They're probably going to be a little bit slower when they're still their own individual cells. And so that might be kind of what we're looking at right now here. They're still kind of their own individual cells. And we'll zoom in here, turn off the lightning, and we'll be able to see that. So there's still its own individual cells currently there. In terms of velocity, let's check that out. You got some gusty winds in there for sure. You can see you've got some of the bright boxes there. But for the most part, though, we're looking at just some straight line winds out of that, not necessarily seeing much in the way of anything that would lead to rotation. Hail spots, let's check this out here. That one is going to be, oh, it's loading up here. Got a different hail one here. There we go. Sorry, we made a bunch of updates to how things look, so I just had to find it. So yeah, there's a little hail core there, right by the McKee area, still way out of our viewing area, but the warning itself does go into portions of it. So that is what we're looking at right now in terms of the storm itself. These are moving off to the east at around 25 miles an hour, so it's a little bit slower down there. And so I have a few more cells that are trying to pop up here near the Hannibal area, south of Quincy. Those would be the strong ones should they develop more, because they're on the south. So we also have a few more blips that go down more into parts of Missouri. And the reason why I'm looking down in Missouri is because those are the ones that are going to be moving to the east, northeast, and move into more of our viewing area. Right now, though, the way that things are kind of overall moving, there's maybe a bit more of a northeast component to that, but the warning that we have right now is actually going straight east. So we're still going to watch that one. And if this one ends up being the only southern storm along this line of storms that go up north into Wisconsin, then this is probably going to be the one that has most warnings with it for the rest of the evening. So this is the one that we have to watch for, especially for the next hour or so at the very minimum, until we get more development there. But that is what we have. We have now, again, parts of our viewing area underneath these warnings that go until 4:45, and it does now include portions of the western side of Cass as well as Morgan counties there. Still with 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, half-dollar-sized hail, so that's 1.25 inches, and it's moving off to the east at around 25 miles an hour. So it's pretty slow, and it's going to be a big heavy rainmaker with this one. The hail is there as well, but strong winds looking at also an issue with that one too. And Jacob, you got really anything right now?
Yeah, if you want to, Jack, if you can pull up the other shot there and bring it in. I'm looking at some of the storm relative velocities just kind of to get an idea. And what you see is you see some of those reds and those greens there. It's not overly strong. We are a ways from the radar, but if we look at the placement for where that's at in the storm, it's kind of on that south and west side where it needs to be. And you look closer, you kind of see that almost kind of, I guess you'd say, a hook around there a little bit. A sign that this may be more of a supercell thunderstorm rather than just a generic, pop-up type of storm here. So we'll watch it and keep a close eye on it. But if that happens in there, what you see is wrapping around is maybe there's an indication that there's some sort of weak mesocyclone in there. We're going to have to watch this closely throughout the time. If anything, that's going to support hail initially. It's not looking like a tornado threat right away. But this is the game we're going to play, where we just got to watch all these different little features about it and keep an eye. And as I bring up another little one here, I don't really see a whole lot of hail and any others. You didn't see any in the hail product either.
Just it was like a little blip.
Yeah, just a little bit. And so we'll take a look at some of that base velocity and some of the velocity there as well, some of those greens and then bright greens, an indication that there's perhaps something in there, but it's not overtly obvious as far as it goes. Click that one there. It's kind of in a spot where not the greatest being able to tell, and we'll use all the different radars at this point. As it gets closer to the Lincoln radar, we'll have a much better vantage point of it. We do get a good vantage point of it now, but we'll get a great one here as we go through. So that's something we'll watch, as maybe that southern storm would be one to watch, and on that path would carry it across Cass, far northern Morgan County. We're probably a couple hours away from Springfield as far as moving at 25 to, say, 30 miles an hour. That's going to be a couple hours to Springfield, maybe around the 6 o'clock hour. But to the north end, kind of looking a little more linear and keeping our eye on. But you're right, Jack. Then behind it, we got to watch with these little pop-up showers.
Yeah, that little one right there by Hannibal, that one's actually become more impressive here just in the past couple scans. So that one also might be a storm to watch here as it crosses over into Illinois and then eventually gets into our area. Jacob, you can just take that one and mute your mic. There you go. Okay. Our producers are calling in. That's what's happening there. So the reason why we're watching these storms here off to the south that are still into portions of Missouri is because those are the ones that could still end up being strengthening into our area. We have the one warning here for the cell at the bottom of this line that does go until 4:45. We still have it as 60-mile-per-hour winds, half-dollar-sized hail moving to the east at around 25 miles an hour. I'm going to zoom out here and see, because I'm getting a lot of people asking where we're talking about. This is still very much fringe viewing area of WCIA. The Illinois River, right at Beardstown there, these storms are still on the other side of it. So they're not even technically into our viewing area just yet, but they're going to be. And that's why we're talking about them, is because they're going to keep on moving on to the east here, and that will impact many locations here over the next few hours, but it's going to take a while to get there. Here we go, just for an example, with, I'll do a little line measurement here, and it's moving at 25 miles an hour. So just a couple cities here. I mean, these are far, far off cities. So if you live even I-55, it's still going to be probably got 2 hours until it gets to you. I-57 and even east of there, closer to the Indiana line, we were talking until probably 9 o'clock tonight. So I get that you're asking a lot of questions about where you live, and I can show our storm track, or I can show our future track again. But again, it's going to take a while for these storms to get through parts of more of the heart of our viewing area. So again, this is our future track here, and as we go through time, this is around 6 o'clock. And 6 o'clock, we still have it probably getting close to I-55, but still maybe not even exactly crossing over at that point just yet. By the time we get to around 7 o'clock, it might still be near I-55 if it's not made the crossover just yet. So these storms are going to be not very fast-moving ones, at least initially. Once we get them to be potentially kind of more into that line, so we've been using the word linear a lot. The line means that then at that point, those a lot of times will accelerate, and those are the ones that would have more of the wind threat with them. But this would be, for example, 8 o'clock, and it may not even be to Champaign at this point yet. So we still have a while until this gets here, and then it'd be obviously even later for it to show up in places like Paris, Danville, locations like that. Some locations could end up being relatively dry too if we don't see storms develop quickly enough. Portions of the southern part of our viewing area might actually not get a lot of rain out of this. So again, just to kind of repeat here and go backwards, we've got again around 7 o'clock or so that might be getting relatively close to I-55, but it may still have not crossed over just yet. By the time we get to around 8 o'clock, probably approaching I-57, but in some spots it may not have done that just yet. And then by the time we get to around 10 o'clock, maybe at that point then, portions of our border counties along Indiana might begin to see some of those storms, or having them actively coming through at that point. It's just going to take a while for these storms. That's why we're looking at storms that are outside of our viewing area currently, because we expect them to hold together, keep their strength, and continue to march off to the east, getting closer to us. Jacob, what do you got?
Yeah, let's just do one last update here. And I think maybe, Jack, for planning purposes, maybe we'll finish up here shortly if you want to, and then we'll kind of get our ducks in a row behind the scenes and get ready for more.
4 or 5 o'clock.
I think it's important, though, Jack, to make sure people know where they live. Because you kind of mentioned, people are asking, well, what about here? What about there? What about there? We'll try our best to answer all of those. But it comes to a point where we can only answer so many of those, and we'll talk about the areas that are being affected. But if you look at these maps, we show this map all the time. You see our temperatures on it, you see our radar, you see all the things here. What county are you in? Consider that question before the severe weather threat begins. What are some major cities or roads near you, I should say? What are a couple towns nearby? For instance, here in Champaign-Urbana, if I'm watching, I know I've got Interstate 57, 72, and 74 in the area. To my west and south, you get down to Tolono and Savoy. Sedoris is down the road to the south and west. Monticello's off to the west. Whiteheath, Mahomet, Seymour. Those are some towns where storms will come through there before they get to me. So what are some towns in particular to your west and where you are in your area that you want to hear as buzzwords? When we say those, you think, oh, that means that I need to get to shelter here. So we've got this. I did put a thing up on Facebook showing this exact map earlier. You can go through and try and identify. Champaign County's here. There's where Champaign, Decatur, Springfield. Watseka's up here. Danville's there. Mattoon, Charleston, Shelbyville. You'll find your town and identify some of those places. And that's always great information to have. And it's great information to teach your kids, because not all the time, you may not be home, or the kids may be by themselves, when something happens. That happens, well, we want the kids to know too, so that's something we have. So just a quick reminder about that, Jack, as far as it goes. So we've got those storms coming in. Jack, we're going to be here watching. We're going to kind of end this, I think, if you're okay with that.
Oh, yeah, I'm good with that. Yep.
And we'll get our ducks in a row. We've got a 5 o'clock newscast, a 6 o'clock newscast. We'll have updates then. If we need to, we'll come back on digital. We'll come back on TV, even if that's necessary as we air. So now getting into the window of opportunity for some of the strong to severe storms. So, Jack, give us one last radar update, and then we'll wrap this Carnarvon wagon up.
You got it. Yep. So we've got, here we go with there's my space bar. Okay, one last view here. And again, we've got just these storms that we're watching off to our west. They're coming in here around 25 miles an hour, give or take. Some of the northern portions of it might be a little bit faster than that. We've got a few little cells that are developing across portions of eastern Missouri. And again, the reason why we're talking about that is because those are the storms that come into our area as well, not only just the ones that we have already in Illinois. These are obviously well out of our very far away from Champaign, for example, but they're going to hold together, and they're going to be able to hold together for multiple hours. We might see more storms joining them with warnings on them, and that's why we're showing them right now. So we're going to wrap things up here. We will provide you with more information right now. The website, WCIA.com/weather, has a lot of information already on there ready to go. Keep in touch with us on social media. We're going to be posting all the time, as we always do. And it'll be myself and Jacob this evening, and depending on how things go, Jacob will either be with me in the studio, or we may send him out in the storm tracker as well, depending on what happens. But we're going to stay on top of this as we always do, and provide you with updates as best we can, as well as in as many forms as we can as well. We've got a lot of good technology here, and you can watch us pretty much on any screen that you've got. So we'll make sure that you've got that ability to do that in case we have the reason to do that. So we'll see you guys here at the latest at 5 o'clock. If not, we'll hop back on with more warnings as we get closer to the 5 o'clock newscast. Thanks.